upon us all. Very, 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 very close. We're so close to this. We are so close to this. And I'm just going to quickly read a little bit of what I was speaking of about the woman and her 7 sons, the Israelite woman. This is the 2nd book of Maccabees, because this was their hour of temptation, believe me when I tell you. And very few people would have made it, but they survived it. For salvation is theirs. 2nd Maccabees, so we look King James 6 and 11, the scriptures. Yeah, so don't get it twisted. It's the 2nd, we're in the book of the Apocrypha, we're in the King James Bible. 2nd Maccabees, chapter 7, verse 1. It came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips. So first they were tortured and beaten because they refused to eat the pig that so many of you Jamaicans and you West Indians worship and love on your barbecue, and you know you got to eat the pork rib, there's a pork rib. And if only of you know what your Israelite ancestors went through to condemn the pig, to not eat the pig, whereas today people eat and celebrate it like it's nothing. They don't even realize what they're doing. And it is so easy to not eat the pig and eat something else, because it's a food. You can eat something else. You're not addicted to it. You can eat something else. You could not buy the pork. But listen to the story anyway. It came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips. But one of them that spake first said thus, What wouldest thou art or learn of us? We are ready to die. In the hour of temptation, they looked the king in the face and their torturers and said, we are ready to die. This is something we must learn from and find strength in. Rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers. So rather than transgress the laws of their forefathers, which Moses brought to them from the Most High, they were ready to die. We're talking about pig, swine, that they refused to eat. They were prepared to put their lives for it. Then the king, being in a rage, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot. So that's like a furnace we're talking, yeah? Which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first, and to cut off the uttermost parts of his body. The rest of his brethren and his mother looking on. So as he came to the first brother, so just picture this in your mind, please. I'm going to read you this story, because this is a story from the scriptures, and it's a true story of an Israelite woman and her 7 sons. These are our ancestors. So please, if you can, close your eyes and picture this, what is happening here. Truly, have an understanding. It says, I'll go back to verse 3. So we're reading 2nd Maccabees, chapter 7, verse 3. Then the king, being in a rage, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot, which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first, and to cut off the uttermost parts of his body. The rest of his brothers and his mother looking on. Now when he was thus maimed in all his members, he commanded him, being yet alive, so he's cut off his arms, his legs, his tongue, and he's still alive, you know. He commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire. So that's to the furnace that they've got, yeah? That they've just been loading up. They've just been raging up the fire to make it hotter. To be brought to the fire and to be fired in the pan. And to be fried in the pan. And as the vapour of the pan was for a good space dispersed, they exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully, saying thus. So they've just watched their brother being cut to fuck, his arms, his legs is cut off, the members of his body have been maimed, his tongue has been cut off. They've got a massive pan, if you could imagine, it's probably about the size of a room, sitting on a cauldron of fire, heated up. So after they've maimed him, they put him on the fire to cook him alive in front of his mother and the rest of his brothers. So what did they say? The brothers, they exhorted one another, which means they looked at one another and say, you know, keep up the faith, keep the strength, man. Don't make this break you. You know, do you know that you with your friends say, look, just be strong, we're here, we win this together. And with the mother to die manfully. The Most High looketh upon us in the truth has comforted us. As Moses in his song, which witnessed to their faces, declared, saying, and he shall be comforted in his servants. So when the first was dead after this manner, they brought the second brother to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair, and they asked him, will thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body? So they've peeled off his skin, off his head. So they cut his head, and they pulled off the skin of his head with his hair. Going back to what we know as scalping, yeah? This is what this is what the white man has done. We're talking about Antiochus here, yeah? So this is what he's done. This is the white king, yeah? Fuck me. And pulled off his head, and they've asked him, will thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body? But he answered in his own language and said, no. So he answered in Hebrew, and he said, no. Wherefore he also received the next torment in order as the former did. And when he was at the last gasp, he said, thou like a fury takest us out of this present life, but the King of the world shall raise us up, who have died for his laws unto everlasting life. So they knew that there was more and better to come. So they knew that they'd been taken out of this life in a fury, in a terrible way. But they knew where they was going to the other side was a better life, and that the king, which is Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai, they knew had something much more precious in store for them. And so verse 8, but he answered in his own language and said, no. Wherefore he also received the next torment in order as the former did. So he had his arms and legs cut off, he was put in the pan just like his brother. And when he was at his last gasp, he said, thou like a fury takest us out of this present life, but the King of the world shall raise us up, who have died for his laws unto everlasting life. After him was the third made a mocking stock, and when he was required, he put out his tongue, and that right soon, holding forth his hand manfully, and said courageously, these I had from heaven, and for his laws I despised them, and from him I hope to receive them again. Insomuch that the king and they that were with him marveled at the young man's courage. So he was still giving praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, and basically was telling the king, look, you can cut off what you want, because you didn't give these to me. It was the Most High. So they marveled at the young man's courage, for that he had nothing regarded the pains. Now when this man was dead, and when the third brother was killed, they tormented and mangled the fourth in like manner. So they took the fourth brother and tortured and cut off his arms and peeled off his skin in the same manner they did the other three brothers. So when he was ready to die, he said thus, and when the fourth brother died, he said, it is good being put to death by men, to look for hope from the Most High, to be raised up again by him. As for thee, thou shalt have no resurrection to life. Afterward they brought the fifth also and mangled him. So he knew that after this, he would be brought back to the Most High, and he will come back in the resurrection to life and to a prosperous life at some point. But to his torturers, thou shalt have no resurrection of life, because when they do come back in the resurrection of the third generation, it's the punishment that they're going to receive from Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. They're not even going to know why they're receiving it. Then looked he unto the king and said, thou hast power over men, thou art corruptible. Thou dost what thou wilt, yet think not that our nation is forsaken of the Most High. So he says, look, you've got power of men on this earth, but that's not the truth. The Most High give that to you. But think not who the real power is. And that is ultimately what it was. The Israelite mother and her 7 sons knew who the ultimate power was, knew who they were, and knew that they would not break the laws to please this king, to despise and to go against the laws and commands of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. They were not prepared to do that because they truly knew the true power. So once again, the fourth brother, during his hour of temptation, he kept his faith. After him also they brought, verse 16. Then looked he unto the king and said, this is the fifth brother, thou hast power over men, thou art corruptible, thou doest what thou wilt, yet think not that our nation is forsaken of the Most High, but abide a while, and behold his great power, how he will torment thee and thy seed. So he's just warning, you know, that you and your seed is going to be tormented in such a way, they're not even going to know why. After him also they brought the sixth, who being ready to die said, be not deceived without cause, for we suffer these things for ourselves, having sinned against our power, therefore marvelous things are done unto us. So he accepted that the Israelites as a whole had sinned, the nation had sinned, had got so into this idolatry. Because you got to remember, when the Greeks took control of Israel and Jerusalem, all of these people, all of the Israelites, or should I say the majority of them, became Hellenized. When they were moved about to live amongst those nations, they became Hellenized because the Greeks were in power at the time. So they became Hellenistic, Hellenized. They were worshipping Greek gods, you know, all the different Greek gods that they had and they worship and so forth. They took them up. They were doing all sorts of idolatry. They dressed like them. They forgot their language. They were doing everything against the laws, commandments and statutes. A lot of them were eating the pork willingly. Whereas these, mother and her 7 brothers, kept the laws, commandments and statutes until the day of their death, during their hour of temptation. Truly believe that these people are blessed. But think not, this is verse 18, after him that also they brought the sixth, who being ready to die said, be not deceived without cause, for we suffer these things for ourselves, having sinned against our power. Therefore marvellous things are done unto us. But think not that thou that takest in hand to strive against the Most High, that thou shalt escape unpunished. So he's warning the king, you know, do not believe for a second that you're going to escape this wickedness, what you're doing, unpunished. Do you understand? But the mother was marvellous above all and worthy of honourable memory. For when she saw her 7 sons slain within the space of 1 day, she bare it with a good courage because of the hope that she had in the Most High. Yea, she exalted every one of them in her own language, filled with courageous spirits and stirring up her womanish thoughts with a manly stomach. She said unto them, I cannot tell how you came into my womb, for I neither gave you breath nor life, neither was it I that formed the members of every one of you. But doubtless the Creator of the world, who formed the generation of man and found out the beginning of all things, will also of his own mercy give you breath and life again, as you now regard not your own selves for his law's sake. Now Antiochus, thinking himself despised and suspecting it to be a reproachful speech. So now the king Antiochus, who saw this as a disrespectful speech, this is the mother, you know, she's made a correct. Can you imagine? I don't think anybody can sit down here in this modern 21st century day and could imagine a mother that could stand there and watch her 7 sons be tortured, murdered, butchered, set alive, skinned in front of her, one after the other, all in 1 day, without breaking. These Israelite women don't exist again. Our women are not coming from this stock again. They don't exist again. Because this is a woman who's without her husband, has her 7 sons, who's prepared to watch them die and prepared for herself to die for the sake of Yahweh, Ba'ashim